Becoming a pick-me is the best choice that I've ever made in my entire life. And it's not what you think it is. The type of pick-me that I think all women should become is the pick-me that is, I pick me. You pick yourself over anything else. Society does not like when women understand that in order for them to get the lives that they truly want, they have to focus on themselves. And they cannot be pouring into people that are not willing to help them get to where they want to go. And you know what happens when a woman starts putting herself first, being honest about the life that she truly wants, and being unapologetic about the progress she has to make in order to get to where she wants to go? This is when people start calling her a pick-me. Not the type of pick-me that I'm talking about, the I pick me, but the pick-me that we all know in society as the woman who wants everybody to like her and pick her. The reason why society starts calling you a pick-me when you actually pick yourself first is because there's a lot of people out in society that think as soon as you start doing something for yourself as a woman, that means that you're doing it for other people. This tends to happen when women start leveling up their appearance. If you're a gorgeous woman, when women start being more strategic about choosing partners, the activities that they do, the way that they carry themselves, and the behavior that they accept. Society starts calling these women pick-me's because they think the woman doing all of these things strategically means she's being manipulative, and it means she's doing it to please other people. You know who would never judge a woman for leveling up her looks, being more strategic, and setting clear boundaries? People that are already very successful, because they understand that you have to sacrifice something in order to get something else. But you know who calls women pick-me's for choosing to level up their looks? The women or the people in society that are also caught up in people pleasing. And that's because it's a projection of what they feel within themselves. Every time they look at someone, they think whatever it is they're doing, whether it's dressing boring or dressing expressive, they think that they're doing it to please other people. So they think when they see a gorgeous woman who pours into herself, who does her makeup every day, wears stilettos every day, looks like an actual baddie, they think that she's a pick-me. They think that she's doing it for attention because they are desperate to get validation. They're desperate to get attention. People can only ever project onto you what their reality is. So if they try to tear you down for putting energy into yourself, when you start being more strategic about the way that you carry yourself in order for you to step into the life that you deserve, maybe you dress more feminine because you want to get princess treatment, and that's the type of life you want to live. Maybe you make more of an effort with your makeup because it makes you happy and you understand when you put effort into yourself, the world gives you effort. People are going to start calling you a pick-me. Because in their world, the only reason to do anything is to please other people or to get them to do stuff for you. And this is especially true when it comes to women. Because if a man started leveling up the way he dressed, starting making more strategic moves, became more clear about the boundaries in his life, people would just call him strategic, a great businessman, mature, someone who has his priorities straight. But as soon as a woman understands that she needs to change something, maybe she needs to dress different, maybe she needs to carry herself differently. Generally, a woman understanding that you cannot change your life unless you're willing to change something about yourself. Then suddenly the whole world is coming after her, telling her she is a pick-me. She is a taker and she is manipulative. It's a big, big double standard. And you know who usually praises the men who are strategic? The women that are actually pick-me's, the women that are striving for attention. They want to praise a man for being strategic and moving right, but they're not willing to praise a woman for doing the same. And you know why? Because it shows to them that it is possible to make a difference in your own life and be secure on your own and validate yourself. The way that the quote-unquote stereotypical pick-me gets validation is by validating other people. And that actually steals all of the energy that she could be putting into her own life. And there's nothing wrong with having been in that stage whatsoever. It's a stage that a lot of women go through because in today's society, we're brought up to believe that we need to be easygoing and we need to accept what other people want. And we turn that into believing that people should just treat us however they want. And we should be open and accepting for any type of behavior that comes along. And we should even encourage it because we're good and moral people. It is completely normal to go through that as a woman. And there's no shame in having gone through that. You're validating other people in the hopes that they're going to validate you, but they're never actually going to validate you. They're going to validate the version of yourself that you put in front of them, or the version of yourself that validates them, not the version of yourself that actually wants what you want. Which is why it's never going to feel enough, and why pick-me's usually tend to dig themselves down a rabbit hole of trying to do everything in order to get picked. And again, I think it's so important to understand that it's not shameful to have gone through that. It's very understandable that women end up becoming pick-me's because they just want to do what's best. They just want to be nice. They don't want to be left out. And that's a basic human want and need. But because they're searching so hard for validation, they also think that when you start picking yourself, that means that you're searching for validation. And then they project that onto you. So when you start getting into self-help, you start leveling up your looks, you start becoming more conscious of your behavior, maybe healing your past wounds. You start setting clear boundaries for what you accept and what you don't accept. And you go from maybe looking like a tomboy to looking much more feminine and being more soft-spoken and knowing how to speak to men. You know within yourself that you're doing this because you understand that you want to get a better life for yourself. You want to facilitate more for yourself, and that means you have to be strategic. But someone who's searching for validation is going to think that you're doing the exact same because they can't see beyond their own experiences and their own mind. This is why they're going to project onto you that you're a pick-me, and this is why they're going to start calling you a pick-me when you start picking yourself. And you're going to have to let them call you a pick-me because essentially it's just them exposing the fact that they're searching for validation, and then you definitely know who not to be around. And I love being a pick-me if being a pick-me means that people who search for validation by trying to please other people believe I'm doing the self, while in reality I'm actually pouring into myself. That's fine with me. Because I know that I'm doing things for me. I know that I'm bettering my life. I know that my life is better than ever because I made strategic moves. I actually used to be the stereotypical pick-me myself. And it took me a long time to realize that. And if you would ask me back then if I thought I was a pick-me, not a I pick myself, but a I want people to pick me, I would have been like, no. I would have defended myself so hard. I would have probably burned myself out defending myself. Back then, I was dressing a lot in streetwear. And I'd been dressing in streetwear for many years. And I thought I was actually doing this for myself. I wanted to express my true self. And I was going to express my true self no matter what. And I just remember that every time I was walking through the hallways in high school, and even when I got older, every time someone gave me some type of look, because obviously I didn't look like other people, so of course they're gonna look at me, I would think in my mind, you're just not bold enough to do the same thing I do. I'm authentic and you're just boring. I was so proud of myself for being different. And mind you, my outfits were pretty cool, I'll have to say that. But I always had this defensive mechanism within me running, telling me that everyone else who's not doing what I'm doing, they're just not their true selves. You know what that voice is? That voice is me projecting the fact that I was not ready to be my true self. I felt like I had to do something to validate my existence. I had to dress up in a specific way to feel like I was validating my existence instead of actually facing the issues that I had within. I was covering all of that up with dressing a specific way and then being very verbal and very expressive about the fact that this is just who I am. And if you're going to tell me you want me to be different, then you're just afraid of being who you want to be. It took me many years to realize this. I had built up so much resentment towards other people because they were not like me and I was different. And there's nothing wrong with being different and expressing your true self. But for my case, this is who I thought was my true self. It wasn't my actual true self. It was this identity that I was clinging on to for dear life. Every time I went on vacation, I would bring a fully packed suitcase filled with so many outfits so I could take Instagram pictures to show off my outfits. It actually burned me out because not only was I trying to figure out all the outfits, but at the same time, I was fighting my inner self, the little part within me that's saying, this is not natural. Why are you doing all this? And then the other part within me that was saying, you need to keep doing this. This is your authentic self. Of course, I ended up being burned out. Of course, I ended up being bitter. Of course, I ended up having a lot of resentment towards other people. I didn't want to figure my inner self out. So I was just gonna blame the world and say that they just didn't like my authentic self. And it wasn't that I was looking for anyone's specific validation from people. It was more that I was refusing to give myself validation. So I felt like I needed to wear all of these outfits to express that I gave myself validation. It was like an armor. And I actually ended up having such a big burnout that I realized that I couldn't put on these outfits every single day, even though I felt like they were expressing my true self. And then I kind of felt like I lost my identity. But I understood that I needed to give it up because it was not aligning with the life that I truly wanted. I understood that I wanted a soft life. I didn't want to live a life where I felt like I needed to do all of this and all of that to feel a snippet of some type of artificial validation just to repeat it again and again. This is when I started leaning more into feminine energy, and I understood that I had to heal some of the masculine traits that I've been carrying around. My resentfulness, my judgment towards other people because I thought that if they weren't doing as much as I was doing, then they were definitely not their true selves. I understood that in order for me to get the life that I truly wanted, a life where I'm taken care of, a life where I can tap into what's within me, I had to sacrifice something. Slowly but surely, I started changing my wardrobe to become more feminine. I wore skirts and boots rather than sneakers and baggy jeans. I started wearing more pink. Instead of getting crazy nails, I started getting more subtle, feminine nails. And instead of feeling like I had to defend myself all the time, I let my look send the signal of the life that I truly deserved. This gave me a lot of leverage, and suddenly I started getting treated much more calmly, and my nervous system started calming down. Mind you, at this point, I still kind of felt like I was betraying my authentic self. But then when I started leaning into my feminine energy more, suddenly I understood that what I thought was my authentic self actually wasn't my authentic self. And my fear of letting that go actually kept me in the same position for way too long, kept me in the company of bad people, kept me feeling sorry for myself, kept me feeling like everyone should validate me because I was my true self, while now I was validating myself. I thought I was my authentic self, but then I became my authentic higher self. And then I realized, wow, this is who I thought I was. I guess there's always room to grow. And that's the kind of mentality that I have now. I think the whole idea of authenticity that we talk about out on social media, you need to be your authentic self. I don't always believe that you need to be your authentic self. I think you need to strive for becoming your authentic higher self. But sometimes in order for you to get there, you need to sacrifice who you thought was your authentic self. The human mind is afraid of new things because it can't predict what's going to happen. That's why it's much easier continuing doing what you're used to do, dressing the way you're used to dressing, being around the people you're used to being around, instead of changing. And while being authentic to who you are is absolutely amazing and should be encouraged, if you want a life that's better, if you want a life that's more, if you're not happy with the life you're living right now, you have to be comfortable with sacrificing something that you might think is who you are. And I think in today's society, we're too afraid of sacrificing that. We think we have to pile on and pile on and pile on. You should just be your authentic self. You shouldn't have to change for anyone. No, you shouldn't change for anyone, but you should change for yourself. But again, society is so caught up in this pick-me mentality that if you change something, that means you're changing for other people. Which is why whenever you change yourself because you want to be a better version of yourself, people are going to start calling you a pick-me. People are going to start telling you that you're doing it for other people because they think anytime that you do something that is different from who you were, that means that you're trying to please someone. Yeah, you're trying to please someone. You're trying to please yourself. You're trying to make yourself understand that you are not bound to be who you thought you were bound to be. You're letting yourself be comfortable with the uncomfortability of understanding that there might be more out there and what's out there might be better. Authenticity is great, but I think true authenticity is when you understand that there's always a better and more pure version of yourself out there to find. And whatever it is that's truly authentically you will always come back to you, which is why you shouldn't hold on to it. Which is why you should be completely comfortable letting it go, because if it is authentically you, it will come back. For me, I felt so tense when it came to me letting go of my streetwear style. I felt like that was me being my authentic self. I was so afraid of letting it go. And then I let it go. I had 40 pairs of sneakers in my wardrobe, and now I only have 4, and 2 of them are for the gym. I couldn't have found what was my authentic self if I wasn't comfortable letting go of what I thought was my authentic self. Mind you, I still love fashion, but when I started validating myself for myself, and the things that I really felt were authentic to me, I understand now that they're just going to come right back to me if they're truly for me. If you constantly hold on to your authenticity, this is my authentic self and I don't want to change for anyone or anything. I shouldn't sacrifice my authentic self for anyone. As I said before, you shouldn't sacrifice your authentic self for anyone, but you should be ready to sacrifice your authentic self for yourself in order for you to be able to find your authentic higher self. Because whatever it is that's authentic to you is going to come back to you. It's going to find you again because it's authentic to you. And when you let go of it, it can come back in a version that's not constrained. When I got rid of 95% of my wardrobe and all of my sneakers and basically my whole streetwear identity, I felt more at peace. Not because I didn't want to express myself, but because I made it clear with myself that things had to come naturally. This is also why I think authenticity can become a really toxic thing. It can be this claim to you never changing yourself. If you have to express your authenticity through defensiveness, this is just who I am, this is my authentic self, then that's not your authentic self. If you feel the need to defend your authentic self, it is not your authentic self. You have to feel that even though you're not able to express your authentic self, maybe through your clothes, maybe through your makeup, your accessory, your opinions, whatever it is, you still feel whole. You can still validate yourself. Because if you cling too much onto those things, then you also let them control your life rather than guide your life. One of the things that always felt very intuitive for me and that I always return to authentically is music and art. And I've had many years where I haven't pursued it. During my streetwear era, I still went to museums. I still was into it a little bit, but I wasn't as into it as I am now or that I were before. Then I got into my streetwear era. I really stopped reading. And I am the biggest nerd of nerds. I love reading so much. I would read 2 to 3 books a week. When I let go of my streetwear style that I thought was my authentic self, you know what slowly but surely returned into my life? My enthusiasm for art, singing, and reading. Because it was natural to me. And that made me understand that I can make changes and I can take chances in my life, and whatever happens, I will still return to the most authentic version of myself as long as I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing strategically. But the only way for me to be able to reveal my true authentic self, who loves dressing nice and who likes dressing feminine, but who also likes reading and singing and looking at art, when I let go of who I thought was my authentic self, my true authentic self came into my life because I became open to receiving instead of being caught up in trying to hold on to certain things. Because the thing is, when you try to hold on to certain things with everything in your power, aka when you defend your authentic self, you're signaling to the world that you are afraid, and you're signaling to the universe that you have a scarcity mindset, that you are afraid of losing your authentic self because this is the only thing that makes you authentically you. When you defend maybe your personal style, maybe the fact that you dye your hair, maybe being able to show your tattoos, and by the way, I've defended all of these things, then you're saying that these rule your life, they control your life. Only when you're comfortable letting them go and saying, you know what, whatever happens, I'm sure that I'll find my true self. Then your true self will come into your life. And maybe that true self is the self that wants to dye your hair, that wants to wear eccentric outfits. But you will never know for sure unless you're ready to let go of it and overcome that fear of not having it. Because when you overcome that fear, then you can also move more intentionally. When you overcome that fear, that's when you know whatever it is you do, you're doing it for yourself. You're picking you. I pick me. And then it will also be easier for you to make strategic decisions because you understand even if you have to be strategic for a while and do certain things, your authentic self is never going to be killed. Your authentic self is always going to come to you. And when you're more strategic in life, aka for example, if you want princess treatment, you know that you have to start dressing more feminine. You might have to move softer. Then you know you're not doing that because you're trying to suppress your authentic self. You're doing that because you understand that the life that you want, that's going to offer you more space, time, money to be able to pursue your authentic self. That life will only be ever to be manifested when you step into a better version of yourself, when you're willing to be strategic. You know that people are going to call you a pick-me for changing up maybe your style, for making more of an effort with your makeup maybe, for putting effort into yourself because you understand that that makes you get effort from the world, aka you being strategic. People will call you a pick-me. And you have to become completely comfortable with people calling you a pick-me. And when you become comfortable with people calling you a pick-me for actually going for the life that you truly want and being honest about what you want, and also being completely clear with yourself about the fact that you need to change something, that things are not just going to change for you, you have to step into your authentic higher self, the version that you want to become in order for you to get the life that you truly want, then suddenly you're going to understand that picking you is actually one of the best things that you could do. And people know that picking yourself is one of the best things that they could do for themselves. That's why they get so angry at people that choose themselves. That's why when women want 5 minutes to themselves when they become mothers, people will tell them that they're taking from the child. That's why when women change their style in order for them to signal the life that they want, suddenly they're being manipulative. When women understand what they want and they're not afraid of going for it, suddenly they're called gold diggers. That's because it makes society so uncomfortable with the fact that you pick yourself because they understand that they're not willing to pick themselves. It is irking something inside of themselves they wish they could do, but they are not willing to go through the uncomfortability of becoming their authentic higher selves. They are not ready to sacrifice their authentic selves to become their authentic higher self. They want to defend their authentic selves, what they think is their authentic self. They want to defend their existence, their choices, their mindset. That's why they tell you, you're a pick-me, you're a gold digger, you're doing too much, you're a taker, you're manipulative for taking a chance on yourself. Because they're trying to drown the noise within themselves, their true desires, their authentic self within themselves that is screaming, I want more, I want more. They want to drown that out. And the only way they can drown that out is by shouting at someone else out in the world who's doing that, who lets their inner voice out in the way that they carry themselves, in the way that they're willing to go for their authentic higher selves. That's when they become really, really verbal. That's why they start shouting at you, you're a pick-me. That's why they want to bring you down, because they're trying to cancel out the noise from their inner selves. They're not trying to tell you that you are a pick-me. They're just trying to defend their own alibi. They're trying to defend themselves and their own behavior. That's why when a woman steps into the life that she truly wants, when a woman becomes more conscious of making herself a better version of yourself, they start telling you that you're manipulative or you're a pick-me and all of these negative things. Because if they blurt this out, then it seems like the moves you're making are immoral, the choices you're making are bad. And then they feel by staying in the life that they're living, which is not their authentic higher self, but it's just the version of themselves that they're defending over and over again, they feel more comfortable staying within that version because they just try to make themselves believe that whoever goes for the life that they truly want is immoral, manipulative, a pick-me. And if they can convince themselves that it's immoral, that it's bad to go for the life that you truly want, then they can comfortably proceed to continue being the same person that they were before. Until, again, they meet someone who is so confident in changing themselves and becoming a better version of themselves, who's not afraid of going beyond the fear of what's comfortable to them, who's not afraid of saying, you know what, maybe this isn't my authentic self, maybe there's more. And society runs into these people all the time. That's why they become so angry. They're not angry at you. They don't think you're bad. They actually admire what you're doing. Their soul admires what you're doing. You're standing up for yourself. They just don't want to admit that. So they try to tell themselves that you are doing it wrong by telling you that you're doing it wrong. They're trying to tell themselves that staying where they are is right by telling you that whatever you're doing is bad. Which is why you should never take it personal when someone calls you a pick-me or manipulative or a mean girl or whatever they want to tell you. You should be honored. Because that means that you understanding that there's always a better version of you that is out there that you can find, your willingness to go for that version of yourself is triggering something in someone else. It's awakening a desire within someone else. And that desire is theirs to handle, it's theirs to figure out, it's theirs to bury, or it's theirs to reveal. But you've already revealed it. This is why it's so important not to get caught up in this idea that your authentic self now is the ultimate version of yourself and you will never get anything that's more authentic. And now you're going to have to defend it and defend it and defend it because that's not how life works. If you think of yourself 10 years ago, you were different than you are now. Change is inevitable. But are you any less yourself today than you were back then? Are you any less existent? Are you any less conscious? Do you not think every day? Do you not feel every day? Do you not make choices every day? You still did that back then, but you changed naturally, even if you didn't intend to. But now you understand that the life that you want takes intention. You understand that in order for you to get the life that you truly want, you need to challenge yourself. You need to step out of who you thought you were and into who you actually are. And you're going to have to do that over and over again. And it's not hard. It's not going to burn you out. It might seem like that in the beginning because you're getting over the threshold of facing the fear of becoming a new version of yourself. But when you get used to the uncomfortability of trying out something new, of stepping into a better version of yourself, you're going to want to embrace it. You're going to want to be like, give me more. I love this. Yay, I'm going to find a more pure, a more authentic version of yourself. You're not going to try to gatekeep who you thought you were. You're going to try to open the gates to who you are. And you're going to let things flow so that the things that are stuck, the things that do not serve you, can leave you, and the things that are authentic to you will return back to you. Being a pick-me is a blessing because you're awakening something within other people that they've buried for so many years. You are picking yourself. I pick me. And it's making you realize that you are abundant. You are unlimited. If you want a life that has abundance, that has unlimited amounts of money, where you can spend unlimited amount of time on what you truly desire, you yourself have to become unlimited and abundant. You cannot be limited, which means you cannot stand by and defend and defend and defend some idea about yourself because that's what you're used to. The unlimited, the universe understands that whatever is right for you is going to come right back to you. It's unlimited. You do not need to settle for only one thing. So you're going to be comfortable letting it go because you understand that everything's flowing to you anyways. Your understanding wants to give you everything, but it cannot give you everything if you're trying so hard to hold on to something. The universe is then going to see that you are too afraid to take responsibility of the abundance that you're going to be given. But when you start validating yourself, and when you start picking yourself, and when you let go of whatever it is you thought made you you, and you just let things flow and be open about the fact that there are going to be other things out there that are going to be good for you, that you just need to let your true self be revealed, then the universe can see that you're letting your guards down. You're not trying to hold your authentic self hostage. Of course, the universe is not going to be able to give you abundance in everything in your life if you're holding yourself hostage. But when you let go and say, you know what, I trust that you will return to me. Like when you let your cat outside in the morning and you know the cat's going to come back at night, then the universe sees that you're ready to receive more because you're ready to transform it into even more. You'll only ever be able to receive more into your life when you are ready to let go. When you let go of resentment towards other people, when you let go of the need to prove that this is who you are, when you let go of the need to defend who you think you are, when you let people judge you by calling you whatever, when you actually embrace the fact that people call you manipulative, a pick-me, a gold digger, because you understand that that's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of other people holding their true selves hostage. When you let that go, suddenly you have so much more space to receive. Your mind is open, your body is open, your heart is open. It's not filled with resentment and doubt and anger, or you trying to hold on to something because you're afraid what's going to happen if you don't. You're just letting things happen. And that's when everything that you truly want in your life is going to start flowing into your life. That's when you're truly going to start transforming. You are going to become unlimited because you understand that it is not the validation of people that you need. It is the validation of yourself through the validation of the universe. The universe is abundant. The universe is unlimited. I can be unlimited and I can be abundant as well. So I choose to pick me. I embrace picking me. There's no limits to who I can become. So why should I hold on to what I think I can become? Because that will keep me from actually seeing how much I can become. I'll pick me because whatever people say doesn't make me any less unlimited. It doesn't change the fact that I'm going for the life that I want. I'm ready to make the choice to pick me, the unlimited version of me that is always becoming better